So anyway, I'm Dave Colmeyer, the Problem Solver. Thanks so much for joining us. Today we have Brian with the Mortgage Guys, and we also have Nicky, who's a local realtor in town. What brokerage you with again?
Campus Realty
Campus
and
Realty.
Management, LLC.
There
Our
you go.
broker likes us to say the whole name, which is very long.
Great. So I'm glad you're here. Normally what we're doing is a weekly mortgage update of what's going on, like in the economy in Vegas. We've been sending it out now. It's only been maybe a week or two that we've been sending them out. It's something new we're doing. I think it's pretty cool because, again, I'm not a mortgage agent, but I've been around the block, own a bunch of homes. My wife does real estate. Brian does mortgage great. He's also bilingual. And the big thing with Brian is that he's always available to help realtors, specifically my wife, closing homes. And I think having a good mortgage agent is really key to basically, making the transaction close. So I think Brian's just been a valuable resource. I know things are slow in general. So we're gonna have an open conversation, and then we're gonna jump into you, Nicky, as well, in regards to how you're helping people. So Brian, tell me. So what's today? Today is
Wednesday.
August 20th, Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
By the time this goes out, maybe a day or two later, which we need to get it out quicker. So I'm going to work on that. Tell me what your thoughts are with this week. I'll tell you my thoughts, and let's figure it out.
I mean, right now you've got a lot of people talking about a Fed rate cut coming up in September.
Okay.
And we don't know. Obviously, we don't know for sure, but we think that there's going to be a Fed rate cut, and the rates have kind of come down and kind of stayed down. They haven't gone down too far, but they've gone down enough to where they're one of the lowest levels they've been all year, or at least in the last year. And then as far
How much
as
lower are they compared to, like, I think the last update we did was 2 weeks ago, actually. I was away on vacation. How much lower are they? Like, you mean like...
maybe a quarter point.
So I didn't even know that they were down, so I
Yeah.
don't really watch it.
They
down
went
about a
little
quarter.
bit. Yeah, they went down about a quarter. Some products maybe even 0.5%. So it just depends on what product you're using.
So
but
quarter to half.
yeah,
So that's kind of a big deal, right?
it can be. Yeah.
So do you get like more calls even at a quarter, or really
No.
half is really
I
you need the
mean,
point?
Really, you need it to be, because I feel like in the last, what would we say, like maybe a year and a half, 2 years, the rates have kind of been between like 6.5 and 7.5. And I think for anybody to really do anything like refinance wise, it's going to have to be under 6, and it hasn't gotten there yet. So
at 5.5.
5.5, 5.75. If we were at 5.5, 5.75, I know probably 50 people that would be like, I'm refinancing right now.
Because they're at like
Because they're like
7.75.
7.25, 7.5.
Okay,
And
okay.
if they did it like a little while ago and they didn't get it at the right time, it was maybe 7.75 or even 8%. So yeah,
So they're saving, it would be almost 2 points.
yeah. So they're basically just trying to wait and time the market for the best time. And we don't know when that's going to be, but they've talked about, the Fed's talked about possibly having 3 rate cuts this year. So we have only a few more months left in the year, and they're talking about 3 rate cuts between now and the end of the year.
When I was driving here, I was talking to my friend Aaron, who basically helps cuts these clips. And I was saying, well, if the guy just lowered it, Jerome
Powell, yeah.
Powell, I'm always thinking the name like I'm saying it wrong. Jerome Powell, if he you just lowered by a point, it would work. And then he was saying, oh, well, if you just lower it, it's not real. Like the guy's really studying, right, the consumer market and what's
Yeah.
going on.
Well, part of the problem is, not to cut you off, but the Fed rate is not mortgage rates. So if the Fed rate gets cut by a point, that doesn't mean the interest rates are going to go down a point. So those are basically for is short-term financing or short-term interest rates, like credit cards and car loans and things like that. Mortgages are more long-term. They're kind of tied more to mortgage-backed securities. I mean, if the Feds do cut like a point, it definitely would reduce the interest rates, but it's not dollar for dollar. It's not like, hey, the Feds cut the rate by a point, we're going to now reduce our rate from 6.5 to 5.5. That's not how it works. So it definitely would help, but it's not like dollar for dollar like that.
So do you believe with Trump basically pressing Jerome Powell, it doesn't seem like he's going to do it. Like, he doesn't seem like he's falling to the
mean, I don't know. I mean, Powell is going to be there until I think May of next year or April of next year.
You think it'll last?
I think so. I don't think he's going to be out before then. And then, I mean, I guess one of the other things is one of the people on the Fed chair, I can't remember the last name, maybe Cook, is being investigated for mortgage fraud right now.
Oh, that's the politician, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a politician, but this person's on the board. So it's possible that they get ousted. He's been calling for her to resign. So if that happens and she resigns, and there's an open Fed seat that he could probably put whoever he wants that's going to push towards getting the rates
You
lowered.
see that investigation set up because to get rid of that guy to.
I mean, maybe,
People
but
political?
I read it, and it sounds like she bought a house in Michigan as a primary residence, and 2 months later bought a house in Georgia as a primary residence, and you can't buy two primary residences in that amount of time.
Like using
In
FHA or
different states.
I don't know if it was FHA, but it just said that she purchased two
under
primary.
primary.
Yeah,
conditions.
you can't have
Two
you're getting
primaries.
more favorable terms as a primary residence, so you can't buy two primary residences at the same time.
Is that something in that regards where this politician, like it's like considered basically mortgage fraud, that if the intent was that, right, for him to do like less money down because it was primary,
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's basically what it is. I mean, there's an investigation. We have no idea what's going to
Okay.
happen. It could be nothing. It could be just for
Got it.
show. We don't know. But if that was to happen and they were to resign, then you have another person on the Fed chair or board that would then be open, that he can put whoever he wants on there.
That leads to a question that I have. When I basically learned about real estate, people talked about leveraging with the FHA. Basically, like you live in a condo, then you leverage to a fourplex, and then you go to a townhome, then you go to a home, and you basically create extra rental incomes
Yeah.
from doing that, and you're leveraging it, but you always have to live at that property.
Yeah, so the way that a lot of people would say to start, if you don't own any homes, what I've been hearing, that a lot of ways to start is you buy a fourplex first.
Is it fourplex first or the condo first?
Fourplex.
Okay, fourplex first.
Fourplex first. You live in one of the units. If you buy it as an FHA loan, you can do it with 3.5% down. You live in one of the units. You're required to live there, I believe, for a year, unless there's extenuating circumstances like, you have some kind of police reports or something that, I can't be here because
Of crime or
crime or whatever. Yeah. So, but unless there's an extenuating circumstances, you have to be there for a year. So you're in the fourplex for a year. After that, you buy a condo or a townhome, and you're in that for a year. But the second home you buy, you can't buy with FHA. You're going to have to buy it conventional and put 5% down. So then you buy that and you put 5% down, and then you move to a house and you put 5% down. You have to always improve. You got to go from a fourplex, which is multifamily, to a townhouse condo, then to a single family, so that you're always improving your situation. They're not going to believe that you're going to go from a condo where you're living by yourself to a fourplex where you have three other people, or three other families living basically in the same place as you.
I think even with this economy right now, and you can always jump in, and I'm going to get to you as well, but if you want to jump in, you can jump in.
I have a
But make sure
question.
put the mic closer to you.
Oh, this was my question. So after they live in the multiplex for a year, why is it they can't buy the condo or the townhouse as a primary residence?
No, they can. They just
They
can't
can?
use FHA loan. So
Why not?
FHA, you
Okay.
can't have more than one FHA loan at a time unless there's two circumstances. One is you move for a job and you move more than 50 miles away from your current residence. And the second one would be increase in family size. You'd have to prove that your family has increased. So like if you were a single person living in a fourplex, and then you got married and you had a kid, or you had two kids, then you could say, hey, I have a bigger family, I need to move. So those are the two reasons you can get a second FHA loan.
That's one of the strategies I learned. I mean, I met with 20 different realtors over the years, and
Right.
that was a way of just leveraging to acquire. The truth is, the way that I basically purchased real estate was with me and my wife. We did low money down and basically acquiring. Where we moved to the location, or we did the FHA financing, or we did a home path. Homes
Right,
that were
right.
10% down as an investor, or 5% if you move in.
Right.
I'm not sure. Actually, I think it's the same with Fannie Mae Home Path these days, even though the homes are much more expensive. Normally, they give you 30 days as if the people that want to primary, move into the location, you have like the first bid that you can do. But if you want to be an investor, it's more money down, but you have to be on the 31st day. So I
Right.
used to always watch, like, oh my God, oh, it hit it. We can, as
Right.
an investor, we can go in, or this one got, snatched up. So it was a little bit of a game like fishing, and it was gone.
Right.
And we actually picked up. That's what's interesting about talking to different, mortgage people and real estate people, having the right guidance. I remember back in the day, I'm like, hey, what's going on with the high rises? I was thinking about like high rises. Can I get a loan? They would say, oh, you can't. There's, the construction defect that's taking place. You can't get a loan. They won't, and I actually found in HomePath, there was some foreclosures, and I was able to acquire 2 high rises from Fannie Mae HomePath. But most people would say, you can't find, you don't know. So all these different programs out there, which leads to the other question. Yesterday over at King Solutions, which we're sending people these days for document preparation and so on, I think I sent it to you. There's different programs, and let's talk about that actually, because maybe, I guess what I noticed with today's market, which I didn't really share yet, but I feel like certain homes that are like 300,000 or 350 and less, that's more affordable, even though it's maybe not as nice of a home, depending upon who you are and where you come from. It may not be as nice of a home that you want, but it makes it more affordable with the interest rates. So I noticed actually with one listing that my wife actually had, that a mortgage agent took the property and posted on Craigslist and says, make this your home. And basically showed like the home, the numbers, what the price would look at, which I thought was kind of smart, because he basically is looking at listings that are cheap enough that it's like a first time for affordable home, so the mortgage agent can get the deal. And he's marketing the property. So I thought that was really interesting, but I realized that it's really true. People need a home that are like 350 and less. If you bought a home right now for 350 grand, what's the average mortgage?
You're probably looking at 2,300 to 2,500 a month.
So that's probably what people can get away with. But once you start going to 450,
400, 450, you're going to be up in the 3,000, 3,300, somewhere in there.
So it's almost like these days, I feel like you got to look at these homes that are like 350 and less.
Yeah.
And then some people, like back in the day when I used to go with my friend Lloyd Siegel out in LA, he does like these flip property seminars. He was big in California, where he would basically buy a home with some extra land. And he knew that it was like $500 a square foot, especially in California, or $1,000 a square foot. So he would find the property that he could add 1,000 square feet, and he knew it was $100 or 150 square foot to add on, but he would get the $650 per square foot when he would sell retail. And he was always trying to do that, where the ADUs, which is in California, and they're building another house at $200 a square foot, and they're getting the 600. ADU is one strategy. And then, which I think is more of California. I'm not sure really here, but then that's I think a construction loan, right?
Yeah.
Because you're building an ADU. And then the other thing really is finding homes that are 350 and less, which I didn't get a chance to look up. Maybe you could look up as well. But how many homes really are out there at 350 less? Because it's getting expensive, and if people can't afford it, they're losing jobs, which I will share with you. It seems people talk about Vegas, and you can tell me what your thoughts when you hear the people you meet with. People are saying, "Oh, Vegas is slow, tourists is down." It's always normally slow in August. And then you see some videos where they go to the clubs and then they make a joke saying with the camera showing all the people like, yeah, Vegas is dead. So I feel like the media just eats it up because it's like something to talk about. And yeah, I mean, there are changes. Actually, I just got a phone call a few hours ago. Person does time sharing over at the old Hooters, which is Oyo. I found out, which is interesting, that they closed the Hooters restaurant down. How much have you ever been there? You seem like a big fan of the Hooters.
I've been there a couple times.
I know that they had a Hooters.
He's always there weekly.
I know they had a Hooters on
in the
Rainbow
South.
in the Southwest.
What happened with that one?
Really?
They closed down and changed to some other company.
Oh,
I think
really? I remember that.
I think Hooters might have gone bankrupt. I'm not positive.
So they closed it down, but I'm not sure if you know there's an Indian investor that owns Oyo. What I heard, like he's a hotel guy.
Okay.
And he's purchased some other properties that are commercial. I know in Charleston, and I think it's Las Vegas Boulevard. There's a corner spot there, which is like a motel. It says Oyo as well. But they're saying that they may close the doors because it's not making money. The place is actually going downhill. I know some people that got injured in the garage. Like I went there, it was crazy. There was an elevator there,
Right.
and it was like some handyman added some like paperwork and says like that, like touch the button over there to open the elevator. Like it was craziness.
No.
But
my
they're basically
goodness.
just letting the place go downhill. So the person that does time sharing over there says that they think the place will close. So I think that, I guess the question to Nicky and to you, Brian, from friends and family that you speak to, do you feel Vegas is like, what's going on in regards to the economy? What's your take place with Vegas? Because it affects the residential real estate market.
I was just trying to look it up. I saw something this morning that said like notice of defaults, which is like a pre-foreclosure.
Letters.
Are the highest they've been in 15 years. They're in the last 3 months, which means that people
that the foreclosures are coming.
Yeah, that people aren't affording their mortgage payments and they're stopping to make the payment. They're not making the payments, and there might be there might be some foreclosures coming soon.
Right. I'm hearing the same thing. They're increasing. As far as friends and family, same. They're saying the economy is not good. Supposedly Vegas is going down. One thing a lot of the people complain about are the resort fees. And even one
Parking.
friend told me, supposedly, she reads and watches the news a lot, but instead of people coming here to gamble, which I'll be honest, I didn't even know until recently they had casinos, but they're now going to Chicago instead because it's not all the junk fees. Like whatever they say the hotel is, that's it. They're not adding resort fee, parking, and all this other stuff.
Well, it's funny you say that. If it's not affordable, and I think a lot of these Indian reservations or the land,
Right.
especially in New York, there was never casinos, and then they opened up where I'm from. But yeah, it's definitely a concern. If it's not reasonable, people won't travel. They're going to pay
Right.
for a flight. I mean, I think Vegas is Vegas. People love Vegas in general, but the truth is, it can deter people from leaving if they got a location that they can go gamble somewhere
Right.
else,
Right.
or a hotel that they could stay at, and there's no resort fees or things are cheaper.
Right.
People
right.
definitely say to me that corporate basically is what's killing the hotels.
I agree.
They're not renovating things. They're not doing things. Some people say they are renovating things. They are spending money, but all these little fees are adding up. When
Right.
you go buy a drink, it's $17,
Exactly.
or
Right.
water is $24.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like people are being gouged, and then I
Right.
think it's affecting the tourism, which affects the local market, which affects the real
Absolutely.
estate.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I do notice with my wife, who's doing more predominantly the real estate, she's getting phone calls from some people saying like, "Look, the strip is quiet. They're not making as much money,
Right.
and then it's affecting their mortgage payment." And they're asking about the forbearance or what can they do. And correct me if I'm wrong. Supposedly, I think September 23rd, Steve Hawks, who's normally on the podcast as well, he's saying that they're no longer allowing forbearances.
That I don't know. If
He was saying September 23rd.
It's possible. I do know that I have been hearing the same thing, that it's slowing down, and I have noticed that a lot of the like gambling places, like the casinos, are going away from live dealers, and they're putting in like machines, or they're getting away. I think there was one that just went away from all live dealers, and so you don't have to pay those people, and those people don't have a job, and so
There's also a new hotel, an autonomous hotel. Is that what you're talking about?
haven't heard of it.
It's like
so I don't know.
autonomous that. And also, I think they showed the other day there was someone was trying to check in a hotel room, and it wasn't probably like a major hotel. That there was a guy from India, on a video Zoom call and like checking people in with keys, and the guy's in India on like a Zoom on a kiosk,
Wow.
and they're checking people in.
Right.
It's just a kind of a scary time because of artificial intelligence and
Right.
basically other people like losing jobs, and I definitely I think that if you look in the casinos, there's a lot less dealers where they're making it more of the board games or the digital
Right.
or
right.
the virtual blackjack deal. They have a
Right,
good looking video avatar.
They have like
dealing
the,
cards.
Right.
the pop craps instead of real craps.
Right.
That's
So basically, going to the
become
place
really
like
popular.
nobody there except machines.
Exactly. And that's
And now there's no Hooters. You can't even get some to eat.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that place has the Shake Shack
Yeah.
or somewhere that's there.
Supposedly Golden Gate, which I guess is downtown, they're supposed to try out AI and see if it works. And sadly, if it works, the other casinos will follow. So unfortunately, a lot of people in the casinos are going to be losing their employment.
I just want to text one thing just to see if it's still on. I guess when you say no forbearances, I think it's more of a government thing, right?
It would not be a local thing.
Let's see, forbearance. Just want to check on that. So it would be more of a government thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess here's a good question for you. Let's just say I don't get that deep in general with these things, but you do. If forbearances are stopped, like, do you believe a lot of people are doing forbearances still? Because basically what people believe is so much cash was basically given out that people had money, like during COVID, right? They had money to go buy
Yeah.
TVs, and they had money to go even to a strip club, to go anywhere,
Mhm.
right? They had money, they had cash.
Right.
The cash is finally being stopped. They're not getting the cash.
Right.
So I think the question really comes down to is that what's really going on? Is that basically there's no more cash, you can't do forbearances, and I think the other thing is an immigration issue. And I shared this today. I met with some local union people, leaders, that several of the Spanish, I think it's Mexican Heritage Day that's coming up. A lot of events are not even being put on because they're afraid, basically with ICE out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of the Spanish populations are not going out. They're not trying to buy homes and they're not trying to buy cars.
Yep.
In California, right? They're being told to basically stay home. So I think that mixture is into it. And the next one I heard was today on social media was Airbnb, that people aren't doing Airbnb as much and they can't afford the payment, so that the foreclosure market will start because of all the Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Have you heard that
I
one?
mean, this is what I just
That makes sense.
read this because I was looking at it. It says that that Nevada has experienced the highest foreclosure rate in the nation, with 1 in every 2,326 housing units having a foreclosure filing in July. And it says that nearly a quarter of all of the defaults on mortgages since 2022 happened in the first quarter of 2025. So things are getting tighter. People don't have the money and are starting to default on their loans.
Listen to this one. Tell me what your thoughts are. I'm going to play it more closer to the mic, but I'm sure you'll be able to hear it about the Airbnb, because I think it's a mixture of things that are going on, which makes me a little nervous. Let's see if this is right. Okay, here we go.
That's how real estate's going to crash around the country. Here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad author says Airbnb's going to lead the way. That's right. All you people that got those Airbnb properties that are now sitting empty, what are you going to do? Not making any money. You're going to put them on the market. Tens of thousands of homes going on the market. That will add to inventory. And because there is desperation in selling those homes will be sold at a discount, causing other homes throughout the market to be discounted. And there you go. That's how it happens. All you wanted to know how the next crash was going to happen? All you had to do is listen to Rich Dad, Poor Dad here. He had the answer.
So I thought that was interesting. So I guess the question is, why is it empty?
Well, I think just because of less travel, less people spending money on vacations and everything else like that. I do know, like I had a client a couple of months ago, maybe let's say 4 months ago, that bought a condo and or it was a house. I can't remember. He bought something as an investment property.
Okay.
He waited and he marketed and he tried to get it rented for 3 months at a reasonable price. Nobody would rent, and nobody's rented it. And he's like, I'm going to sell it. I can't just keep making this payment with nobody renting it. And so, I mean, maybe
But that was for an investment for Airbnb too, or no?
It's not Airbnb, but it's just a regular long-term
Regular
rental.
rentals, right? Yeah. I had someone, a family member, as we know about it, and then originally he was trying to get $4,000 furnished, a nice home with a pool, in the Southwest. And then at the end, he went down. It's been like 3 or 4 months, and it was hurting him on a monthly basis just to make that payment because he purchased another place. And then I think he's finally renting it for like $2,500 a month. I think it's a good time to get a good rental. Like if you need a rental, and $2,500 a month with a nice pool, a nice area. And I don't even think the person saw it, and they're moving in. But it seems like it's very difficult to rent a market. Fortunately, with my places, they're filled. But I will share, I think back in the day, I never realized that having a home that's more affordable for rent, like someone always needs that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you have a $1 million home, how many people are renting $1 million home compared to a home that's $300,000? So fortunately, like some of my mortgages are $750 or $1,250 or $1,500 or enough where that at least covers the rent. So I think no matter where you are, you have to make sure that if you're buying an investment property, that you basically break even. I mean, some people believe that if you're going to buy something, you have to cash flow no matter what.
Right.
So back to the so if there's no more forbearances, and then you have this Airbnb, people aren't renting, there's less people in August. The Hispanic community basically is not trying to buy. Tell me in regards to the Hispanic community, have you felt that it just things are?
Yeah, so I was actually when you talked about people buying cars and stuff in the Hispanic community, I was at an event the other day, and I was talking to a guy who is a car dealer, and he buys cars at auctions and then resells them. And he's Hispanic, and he usually sells mainly to Hispanic people. Sometimes he'll buy them if they're a little damaged, fix them up, and then sell them. And he told me that all of the Hispanic people are holding on to their money, and they're not buying cars, they're not buying things because they're afraid that if they go and spend all this money, what happens if they get caught by ICE? Even if they're legally here. I mean, there's been some reports out there where people, if you're legally here and you have like a work visa, that the government can reject that work visa and send you back right away. So there's there's just a lot of fear when it comes to the Hispanic people right now, just because of what you're seeing, sensationalized on social media and the news about, ICE coming and just picking people up and breaking into homes. And so they're definitely they're being more tight with their money.
And then I just wanted to touch back on the Airbnb just really quickly. I did have them before, don't have them now, but I can say that sales or bookings went down. Unfortunately, as an Airbnb, you're always competing with the hotels and the casinos. And so, when you have some of these hotels downtown or whatever, offering rooms at $400 a night, I'm sorry, not 440, excuse me. Then, of course, they're going to gravitate toward that than an Airbnb, which is more. But they're not realizing that once they get to the desk and by the time you add the resort and the parking fees, then it's more. So it's always been a lot of competition between the Airbnb owners and the hotels and the casinos. Now, as far as the rentals, he did say that his client had an affordable rental, so not sure why that didn't pan out. I mean, maybe they should have gotten a realtor, but I sometimes have hard time finding places for my renters. So the rental market, it seems it's good on both sides.
All right. So in regards to the people that are going to listen to our stuff specifically, and Nikia, we're going to jump into Nikia next. The people that listen to our stuff in general, that are realtors, that predominantly get the video and audio. I mean, I guess my question really comes down to, if things are so slow, it's actually funny with my wife. She basically, we're getting some listings, but everyone basically wants a lot more money.
Yeah.
So she's stressed, right? Because basically,
I think a lot of it comes down to people putting their homes on the market and wanting top dollar when you don't have a top dollar house. So if you want to get top dollar, you need to have a top dollar house, and you need to price it reasonably. I mean, you can't look at all the comparable sales of a house and say the top three, or let's say 500,000, and you want to list yours for 525. It'll sit on the market longer, and when it sits on the market longer, people start to look and say, well, why is it on the market longer? There's all these other houses that are on the market that aren't on there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the problem.
I definitely think it's a concern. So I just want to bring up, we got about a few more minutes that we'll talk about this, and we can cut this part about, is that I think with realtors, and it's one thing that I learned actually from Steve Hawks over at Platinum, I think that realtors need to diversify these days. Anyone that's basically listening to a realtor, I think basically that, like solar that's out there, we spoke about that with Nicky as well. I think that has to be an option when some people are saving their money in general. I know you have to do some other things, like solar is where it's at. There's a rebate that expires at the end of the 31st. If you have a relationship with homeowners that purchase homes from you, I think it's time to basically work with a solar company, which we set up at the Problem Solver. We've been basically getting people opportunities with a specific solar company that we've vetted out. And I like them, and I think they're good, and I think that these realtors need to do that. And that's where I want to basically help some realtors basically get some extra income. I think solar where it's at from your existing clients. Because if people are not buying something and they're not selling, what other service can you provide for them? You can't provide a mortgage. You can't provide another home. If the economy's down, they're not thinking about a second investment property.
Right.
So all you got basically is really solar, basically, which is saving them money, which is basically helping them. And then in the long run, you're making money from it as well. And again, realtors are listening to this, not any consumers out there. So I think at this point in time, solar is something that may, hopefully, if you are involved in solar, some people get solar. My wife was against solar. She doesn't really care about solar. It seems like solar is a problem when you're trying to buy a home, right?
Yeah.
And I know that I was helping her a little bit where someone passed away. Is the solar paid for? Is money owed? Who owns the permit? Was there a permit done? Who's the person that placed it on there? It will come back up in title. How much money is owed? Like, a lot of problems come with it. But I think that if you're living in the home long term and you're not going anywhere, that solar helps you save money. And I think that Nicky, why don't you share? Because you have solar.
Correct.
This is good. Tell me
personally, I swear
she
by
may be
solar.
the only success story in solar.
Right, exactly.
Tell us about the solar situation.
Of course, Nevada Energy has to get their cut. They absolutely have to. Unfortunately, our society, money runs everything. So with that said, when you get solar, your bill will be a minimum of $14. The reason being is because once you get solar, Nevada Energy is upset that you've left them as an energy customer. So they make you pay $14 per month for some meter. So on average, my bill never exceeds $20. So how it works, just quickly, when you first sign up for solar, they look at your last 3 bills to give you an estimate of use. If you maintain that same use, then you should not have any bill to pay. So that's why mine is generally under 20. I'll say I might be $15, $16, which literally means I'm using $1 or $2 in energy. You have to factor the $14 for the meter, and then your bill stays the same. Now, if you start using excessively or more, then you'll see a higher bill. But if you're staying about the same, your bill should not be more than $20. So I personally swear by it because, as you guys know, in the summer, you can get a bill $250, $300, $350. I literally have not paid a normal size bill, I'd say, in about 3 years. So my bill hovers around $15, $16 per month. So me, I would tell anybody get solar, but that's been my experience.
Well, let me ask you then. So you pay, like, let's say no more than $20 to NV Energy. Do you have a solar payment?
Yes, there is a solar payment.
So what's the solar payment similar? Like what's an estimated solar payment?
For me, mine's is $100 per month.
Okay.
And how I factor that in is I'd be paying Nevada Energy $300 anyway. So this is how I look at it. I'm going to keep this house. I personally plan to never sell. So I look at it like this. Once I pay the solar off, then I'm done with those $100 a month payments, and then it's just $20 forever.
So you purchased the solar, you didn't lease it or get a power purchase agreement or anything like that?
Correct. So I'm
Okay.
purchasing mine's outright.
Okay.
So I think I have to pay $100 a month for so many years, but my plan, like I said, it's a forever home. Keep it. When I pass away, it goes to my kids. So
Gotcha.
eventually, when that solar bill falls off, whomever's in that house just has to pay $20 a month. And
So
to me, it's still cheaper. The $100
Okay.
to solar and the $20 to Nevada Energy, that would still be my power.
How much did the solar cost?
After the rebates, $11,000. So if I remember
That seems
correctly,
really reasonable.
if I remember correctly, it was $20,000.
Would you get one solar panel? Not joking.
No, actually,
How much?
mine's was 17. So for my usage, they calculated that I would
Okay.
need 17
That seems
panels.
really reasonable. What company?
That's what they gave me, Sunrun. And the reason I went with them, you guys, not saying that this makes anybody
And the Sunrun's
better,
Costco, right?
but because they were connected to Costco. Because
Okay.
I hear all these horror stories. You get solar 10, 20 years down the line. When they break or need to be cleaned, the company has run away. So I'm like, well, if they're connected with Costco, maybe.
Did
So
Tesla
that's why
take
I
them
went
over?
with
Because I
them.
heard Tesla bought Sunrun.
That
Someone told me
part, I'm
something too.
not
Like I hear
sure.
these different rumors. I gotta go next time I go to
knows?
Costco.
Well, I
I'm thinking
did-
to do
But
the
that
day.
was the reason that I went with
Well, I
Sunrun
did,
because they were backed by
I did
Costco.
work and do a lot of loans for a builder in the North Las Vegas. It was a 55 and older community,
Mhm.
and they had Sunrun on all their stuff.
Okay.
And then after doing some of these loans, after a few years, I did a couple refinances, and the people were like, "Oh, I have Tesla." I was like, "Oh, wasn't it Sunrun?" And they said, "Oh, yeah, it's Tesla now." So I don't know. Maybe they bought some. Maybe they
Possibly.
didn't buy all of them. I don't know.
I can say my financing, now again, everyone, this was 3 years ago, so in 2022, we're in 25 now, but my financing came through Good Leap. So maybe some things have changed, but it's $100 a month, and literally the interest rate is something silly. I want to say definitely under 2%. I don't even know what it was
It seems
exactly.
really good.
But once they gave me the rate, I'm like, just forget it. And the rebate is a true rebate that you get back. So what happens is when you file your tax returns, there's a form that you fill out and you get literally $8,000. So if you owe taxes, let's just say you owe $10,000 in taxes, it's a true credit. You get the $8,000 credit. You only have to pay $2,000. If you owe absolutely no taxes, you literally get an $8,000 check.
I
in
heard
your
different
hand.
things about that, so that's confirmed. That's what you did.
Right. So yeah, got the rebate.
Did you hear something different?
No, but I'm wondering if it's the same if you lease or do something else, or it's only if you own it.
I believe it was owned. So they told me if I purchased it, it was 20, and then I'd get the 8,000 rebate, which I did. So in essence, to me, that's $12,000.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'll be honest, everybody. Of course, one of the strategies I could have taken the 8 and hurried up and paid the solar down. But for me, the interest rate is so low. I'm just like, well, just pay the $100 a month, and I can do something else with the $8,000.
We're going to the club later, huh?
Right. Exactly.
You know, it's funny. I'm laughing when I say this. I feel like solar is where it's at right now, at least for the next 6 months, or the rates go down. But if so let's throw this into the mix. If the rates drop tomorrow by a point, Does that change the whole Vegas economy?
I don't know that it changes the
Yeah.
economy, but I believe it would change.
People buying? Or
I don't know necessarily buying. There'd probably be more people buying, but I think what would happen is you would open up the door for thousands upon thousands of people to refinance. I think that
Okay.
if the rates dropped to 5.5 or lower,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even 5.75, you're gonna have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. You're gonna get phone calls.
Refinancing.
I mean, people
But-
are gonna be calling.
Okay,
left
so at
and
least
right.
that means if they save the
I
money,
agree.
then the money
People-
they'll use in the they could save, but most people are Americans are spenders, right? So they'll probably have more money to spend within the community.
Right.
Right,
I
for
think they
food
would
or-
definitely call someone like him to see what the payment would be,
Yeah.
just to see how much. Now, of course, that's like he said earlier, people that are high, like 7% and higher. Because me, for example, I would never refinance. My loan, fortunately, I got it in 2020 and I'm at 2.75. So on that particular property,
done.
it's like, what for what?
Yeah.
Like I even called my mortgage company. I said, hey, can I get a second? They're like, no. If you want to refi, we have to do the
Like,
whole
click.
loan. And I said, so
At
what's the rate?
7.5?
He said 6%. I said, so why would I double my payment? I'm at 2.75. You want me to refinance the whole thing for 6%? So for me, it doesn't make sense.
So I think for realtors in general, I think over the next 6 months, and I think the rebate ends at the end of December from my guy at the solar company. Personally, I like to help people connect to the solar people, but again, and I said this to Nicky as well, even though my wife's a realtor, people that know Nicky are going to use Nicky. People that she's going to influence. So people always ask me, like, why am I helping other realtors if your wife's a realtor? Because I know people, it's most people want to use people that they know or they're referred to.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned to Nicky as well, same thing with solar. I think that you have to look at your existing clients that you've had, and you probably already forgot who they are. Get with the title company, get with Security First, and then basically pull everything that you've ever sold, call the people up, and get trained with solar. I will hook them up with the solar person to get educated. I did investigate a few companies. I happen to like one particular company and guy who I feel is really knowledgeable and he's available to meet with you. I will check Costco as well. But I think at this point in time, you have to basically go to your existing client base that you sold homes and basically offer the solar until the rates come down. Then
Right.
maybe you'll get some other buyers, unless you really know how to get listings. So that's my advice for realtors that are basically out there. If they want basically help with getting connected to a solar person that I recommend, that I think would be good to help some other realtors, and I think that would be good. Because what else are you going to really do if you're a realtor, right?
Right.
Any other suggestions for realtors?
I mean, I would just say that right now it's all about trying to make sure. I think it's always been about this, but I think it's right now it's making your client realize the reality of the situation and not overprice their home.
Mhm.
I mean, I've talked with a lot of realtors who are like, oh yeah, I told a potential client that their house should be listed for, let's say, $500,000, and they talked to 3 other realtors, and other ones told them we can put it whatever you want, and then they wanted to put it at 600, so they put it at 600, and it sat on the market for a year, and nothing ever happened, and then they had 10 price reductions, and it went even lower, and then they signed with a different agent, and finally they sold it for like $475 or something. So if you can convey the reality of the situation to your clients, you're going to be farther ahead than some of the others.
What I want to say is, we had a few lunch and learns, and you went to one of the lunch and learns, right?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
You know what's very interesting with the lunch and learns? I'll just share with you. I guess I'm kind of so where I was going to say venting. Everyone that was there, I basically offered free marketing services to people that we did it for a few months, and we had maybe about 50, 60 people that showed up. But what was really, really interesting is that, most people I don't really think had listings. They really didn't have a lot of business. I said they can come on the problem solver. We would help them. We do all these things to help them. And most people just are not taking action. It's just very interesting. Like, I'm like the only one out there in Vegas, I know for sure, that will offer free marketing and public relations and help them and guide them. And so for free, personally, I'm worth $10,000 a month in regards to my knowledge, billboards, radio, TV, all this stuff. And I offer it for free. Maybe because I offer it for free, that they think it's a scam.
Maybe.
I actually remember in one of the classes I said, hey, I normally would charge $5,000 a month for any business. And then I said, how many would pay me $5,000? Like, no one raised their hand. The one woman raised her hand and said, I would pay you $500 a month. I said, you know what? Keep your $500 a month. I'll be free. She met with me one time. That was it. Like, if you told me that you can mentor me, you can help me bring in business, why not meet with me? why not come on the podcast? Why not create some content,
Yeah.
So I think that realtors that are out there, I will share with you, you need to take some action. There's tons of title companies. There's tons of mortgage agents. There's tons of, I may be a rarity, but I know if you call 30 mortgage agents and 30 title companies, they all have some program to help you. They take advantage of the program. I just think people are just like negative and they're just not looking to take some advice
I think
in
a
general.
lot of it too is that you have a lot of realtors who have been in the business for a long time, and
They had it so easy.
they're so used to it just coming to them and not having to do anything, that now that they have to actually work to get clients, they're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'll just kind of hang around. And do
Yeah,
nothing.
it's crazy. I will share with you. So Daniel Price is one of the sponsors, Security First Title. He is a manager in business development. He is a great resource. I mean, I love Daniel. I did work with his wife, but I'll be honest with you. Sometimes you want to work with new people. You're not really sure of them. I mean, Daniel's amazing. I text him. I mean, I feel bad. He'll hear this. He was away, I think he was in England, for like a week, and I'm like texting him about some properties. And I did a text recently. Nicky had some strategy that she told me about what she was doing. I'm like, hey, I got this great strategy, which we won't talk about. And I want to help her with it. And sometimes you miss this potential with what you're doing, but you're missing a small piece. Or sometimes you have to push yourself out of the comfort zone to knock on the door, right? Back in the day, people that were realtors were knocking on doors. Now no one wants to knock on the door.
Yeah.
I know it's different times. But Daniel Price has been great. And I think even calling Daniel and saying, look, can you get me a list? Can you give me a phone number? Even the other day when I messaged with Nicky, I said, hey, can you give me a list? And he was like, do you want phone and email? I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that we can get phone and email. Yeah, of course I want the phone and email. I want to call them. I want to text them. I want to email them,
Right.
And I'm sure there's people that are out there in general, but not as many in general. I think people are like with realtors, they look at expired listings and they just call. There's 500 phone calls the next day.
Right.
How do you get through that one person? That the one expired listing that comes off the market,
Exactly.
Well, you just have to keep calling.
But,
and also
but 500
wait
people
a
are already
few
doing
days,
that, until it dies out.
No, they call, I'd say the first week maybe. By the second, third week, nobody's
calling.
So you have to call after
So,
that. Right.
but there are different strategies, and Daniel's great. I want to appreciate Security First Title for sponsoring. If you need help, Daniel's amazing. And again, when I say he's amazing, it's more about communication. He's there. You can meet with the guy. He's available. He's got different programs. You can ask him what other people are doing. They have label lists, all these different lists. So I think it's great. You really, really, you can target a lot of different groups with his list that he has. So he's been really great that I've been working with, and I just hooked up Nicky with him. So I think Daniel basically, I really do believe with Nicky's strategy, something she was working with using Daniel at Security First Title, I think that basically she'll get some listings from it, and we're going to play with it next week. So I think that's going to be really good. With that basically being said, Nicky, even though we're about to jump into you, any tips that you want to share? Even though it's like competition to other realtors that are out there, any words of advice during this kind of unusual market?
Well, for me personally, I don't only do real estate. As you know, I'm also a notary. So I would just say now focus strongly on your marketing. And if you have to do a little bit of something on the side, then you may have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Brian, anything else you want to leave off to any of the realtors this week?
No, I mean, I would just say start with your sphere of influence, your SOI, and work out from there.
Got it. All right. So basically, Brian's always available. He's great. He's bilingual. He's available. He'll even, come to your home. We'll go satellite office, your office if you're a realtor, wherever you want to basically meet that makes it easier for Brian to meet. Again, he's with Mortgage Guys. If you want to basically call 702-999-1111, easy number 702-999-1111. If you basically have a person that needs to refinance, maybe the rates are at 8.5% and above, maybe a good time. If it's a good 2 points.
If you're over 8, you can get it in the 6s right now, and you'd save over a point. So
okay. And look, if you have to refinance, if rates really go down even more, you have to refinance. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Even if there's a small fee, the money that you're saving monthly is a big deal. So with that basically being said, I want to thank Brian with the Mortgage Guys for coming on, sharing again the problem solver. Basically, the goal is for myself as a retired police officer, helping people. There's definitely problems out there right now in general. And I mean, look, we're trying to help realtors basically out there in the community, talk about what's going on, right? Sharing your thoughts. Everyone's a little bit different in general. So with that basically being said, I appreciate Brian coming on the show. Nicky, thanks so much for sharing. And thank you so much. Problem solver, Dave Kohlmeyer. If people need help, reach out, 702-999-1111. Thank you.